Hi everyone. So this time we are going to be looking at the Persane ACE template. Since we've already had a look at the long line, and I suggest you go through this video if you haven't done it yet. I'll try to be more quick into the explanation that I will be doing on this Persane ACE template. So this template for the Persane will enable you to calculate your estimations of catch for Persane. So let's dive into the template, and the first thing you have to do is to fill in your name. This is important because we want to know which country has filled in the template. So we'll take as an example again Solomon Islands. Oh, okay, and then we go straight to the pre-ACE calculation work. So that's the work you have to do before going to the TDW ahead. The first thing you have to do is to check your national fleet vessel list. Second thing you have to do is to chase for the missing log sheets. So as we've said in the long line template, as you can see on the corners here, you've got some commands that have been added. And if you click on the cell, the command will display, and you have the instructions on what you have to do, which we'll go through now. And it's the same for any of these cells here, or even later, you have a step-by-step guide. So let's dive into the first thing you have to do ahead of the TDW, which is the National Fleet Vessel List. You have to check your National Fleet list. So we might now dive into this report by clicking on the button Launch Report, and it will take you to the Toughman 2 corresponding report. If you haven't signed in Toughman 2, it will require you to sign in, and you can relaunch the report to get it displayed. So we'll study for year 2022, and we are in a Solomon Island instance for the example, and now we just want to run the report. So here you've got a list of all the vessels that have been operating as your national fleet. In this case, Solomon Island National Fleet. So what you have to do is to check whether all of the vessels that you know that have been operating in 2022 are listed here. If not, just come back to us and tell us such a vessel isn't listed here, and we'll add it. We'll change the date, probably a problem with date. And sometimes there are vessels in the list that are not supposed to be there, and tell us again through the Slack channel or email to check this vessel, because we would have to remove it from the list. So this is how you check the national fleet list from the template. Next report is chasing for missing log sheets. So we'll launch the report once again from here, and we'll indicate year 2022 and run the report. It can take a little while, and I might pause here and display it again when it's on. Okay, so now the report has been run, and you can see that on the screen you've got a list of trips that are displayed, and it is exactly the trips that are missing in the system. So these trips haven't been entered in Toughman 2. So it's important that you chase them and that you try to enter them into the system before going to TDW. And the whole purpose of this exercise is to increase your data coverage. The higher the coverage is, the more precise your estimates will be. So it's important to try to have as much data in the system as possible. And this is it for this missing log sheet report. Okay, so last step in this pre-ACE calculation work part. is the vessel count by size class. This is actually something you can do during TDW, and will so to get there, you click on this button and it will drive you to the vessel tab. So if I click here, I go to the vessel tab, and what I have to do here is to fill in these white cells. So I'll launch the report, and and what I just have to do is to run it. And basically what it says here, it says that for 2022, for each vessel category here, you've got a number of vessels. So for V2, you've got 6 vessels, for V3, 4 vessels, and in total 10 vessels. So V2, 6, V3, 4. So if I'm going back to the template, V2, 6 vessel, and V3, 4. And on total, I've got 10 vessels. That's all I have to do here. I've indicated the number of vessels by vessel category. And now back to the main sheet. The next part is the logsheet data. So it's step number 2, logsheet data. And again, you have a command here that you can click on, and you would have all the instructions on what you have to do, which I will go through now. So what you have to do here is to click on the launch report button, and once again, it will open Toughman 2 reports. It will indicate 2022 and will run the report. Okay, it's now displayed. It can take a while to run, but I have paused, so it just appeared. What you have to do here is to take these numbers, but to take these numbers and copy them back to the template, what you're going to do now is to download these numbers as CSV. Okay, so it's downloaded as CSV here, and I will now open the CSV. Okay. Um, so as you can see here, you've got some fish categories and species and some numbers, okay? And what you can see here is that the categories and species are not properly ordered. It should be ordered by category and species. So we're going to do this, and to do that, you have to go in the data menu, and you have to click on sort. And what we want to do here is to sort by category, add a new level, and sort as a secondary sorting by species. And what it does here is to reorder the whole table. Once you've done this, you can see that all tuna are together, all billfish are together, and all sharks are together. So what you have to do here is just to copy the numbers. Don't copy the text, copy the numbers. So copy. Once I've done this, I'm going back to the template, placing my cursor on the first cell here, and pasting as values. The goal of pasting the values only is that you retain the formatting of the table. And so you've copied all the numbers in the tables. Okay, that's all you have to do for here. It's all the logsheet summary, data summary. Next, you have to take care of the part number 3, which is observer data. So there might be very few data for the previous year, but we'll see what we do in this case. And this is due, of course, to COVID period. So we're going to launch the report. Again, you can see the commands and the step-by-step guide if you click on the cell, and you would know exactly what to do. But we'll see that now again. We'll launch the report. And so it will once again open a Toughman 2 report. So you will have to put your flag, which is Solomon Island here, and year 2022. And we can run the report. Okay, so we now have the report, and we have to copy back these numbers into the ACE template. So again, what we're going to do, we're going to click on the download button and it will download the corresponding CSV. So I'm opening the CSV and here we go. We got the numbers displayed here. And as you can see here, the only ordering there is here is a species name and it's properly ordered. So you don't have to reorder this one. The only thing you have to do is to copy the numbers and go back to the template. Click on the first white cell here and you just have to click once again on paste the values. And then you have filled in all the values of this table. Just a quick note on this observer data. It might be that for your country, because of COVID situation in 2022, there might not have been any observer data. In this case, instead of using 2022 in the report, in the Toughman 2 report, you could use potentially 2021 or even 2020 or even 2019 if in the last 3 years you haven't had any observer data at all. The reason is that what we're looking to get here in this table is not really the total observed catch, but we're more interested in getting some average number per trip or average numbers per day. And we are going to use these average accumulated with the total number of trips or total number of days in order to estimate the total catch. So it doesn't matter if you go back in the years, because the goal again is to get these average average kilograms or average number of fish. Next part is the summaries, part 4 summaries. So here you will have to fill in these 4 cells here. And for this we are going to launch the report. Again, here you would have the step-by-step guide, but you just have to launch the report. And you need to indicate your flag and the year that you want to study. Okay, so we've got one line, and if we go back to the template, what we want to get here is the trip est as shown here and days est. So if we go back here, trip est and days est. Trip est is 97 here, and day est is 1749.8. And I've already done this, so I've already filled in the numbers. And if I'm looking at the numbers of ops trip processed and fish days, ops trip processed 20 and fish days 344. So here it should be 20 and 344. So you're copying the values from this report back into the template and you're done with this part. Okay, so now you've basically finished launching reports. Now you are going to really try to estimate your catch with the part number 5. So this is this table. This table is made of several parts. So you've got the fish categories, so tuna, billfish, and sharks, the species name. And then you have a blue part here, which is basically trying to estimate the retain catch. The orange part is the discarded catch, and the green part is the final estimate, which is basically what you've indicated here is duplicated here in this column retain, and what you've indicated here in the discarded part is duplicated here. And this last column is the sum of retain and discarded, because the annual catch estimates wants to estimate not only the retained catch but also the discarded catch, everything that's been taken out of the water. So this is this table that will enable you to make a precise calculation of your annual catch estimates. So to go in more detail in each of these parts, for the retain area here, you can see that you've got several methods, method number 1, 2, 3, 4, and selected method. The goal of what you have to do here is that you need to select the most appropriate calculation methods. These are all different ways of calculate your annual catch estimates. Okay, and each method is different to the other, and we'll see in more details each method and what it corresponds to, even though you have a little some kind of summary here, but we'll go in more detail. So what you have to do, depending on the method selected, if you've selected method number 2 here to calculate albacore retain catch, you just have to indicate method number 2 here. And for each species, you will have to indicate a preferred method. Noting that by default, what you see as bold is usually the preferred method for this corresponding species. So for example, for albacore, you can see that the preferred method usually is method number 2, while the preferred method for big eye is number 3. 2 here, 3 here, 3 here, and here all of these ones are method number 2. Okay, so once you've filled in the method that you've selected, you're done with retain catch. It's exactly the same for discarded estimates. So you've got a number of methods which are similar but also different for some of them. So you've got here method number 1, method number 2, and 5. So what you have to write here is the method that you select. So whether you put 2, 1, 2, or 5, okay? And once you've filled in the method, you're done with discards. And here again, as you can see, the preferred method usually is method number 2, and we'll see in more detail what these methods correspond to. So once you've finished filling in the methods here and the methods in retain, all the numbers that you've selected here are copied automatically in these columns, okay? So for example, for these discarded species, which is shark fowl, silky shark, I suspect, you've selected method number 2, and so method number 2 is 104. It's automatically been reported here, okay? And it's the same for all of them. And so the final estimate for these species, retain plus discard, is the sum of this and this, so it will be that. So this is your final estimates. So now we'll go with a little bit more details on the method and what they're all about. So method number 1 and 2 are usually based on observer data. Method number 1 is in fact using all the average that we've calculated here, average kilogram observed per trip for a specific species, and it's raised to the total number of trips. So we're using the total number of trips, which is indicated here, to get an overall estimation of the catch. The method number 2 is exactly the same, but instead of using the average per trip, it's using the average per day. And this is why method number 2 is usually more precise, because the daily average raised to the total number of fishing days here tends to be more precise usually. This is why method number 2 is very often chosen, especially chosen usually for billfish, sharks, and also discards, because all of these are better reported in the observer than usually in the log sheet data. Method number 3 is the method that is based on logsheet. So basically, this is the logsheet trip estimate raised to total trip. Okay, so this is exactly what has been indicated here in this column here. So it's taking the logsheet data. So now method number 4 is a little bit less straightforward than the others. What it does here is to use basically the observer calculated amount here, but applying to this calculation the proportion between logsheet and observer. So basically it's adding all the big eye, skipjack, yellowfin from the observer calculation from method 2 and doing the same for method 3 from the log sheet, taking the proportion between those two numbers and applying it to method number 2. So it's a way to interpolate a little bit and use both observer and log sheet data together in order to have a more precise number in the end. It can give you another indication of what could be the estimate. So it can be useful. The method for discarded estimates are a little bit the same for the two first, method number 1 and method number 2. So again, these two methods are based on observer data and averages. And the preferred method here, as you can see in bold, is the method number 2. There's another method which is method number 5, and basically if your observer data is crap or if you've got nothing, you might just want to use the log sheet estimates of discards. So, or if you know that the discards have been properly reported in log sheets, like in this column here, if you know that it's well reported, you can use method number 5, in which case you would write 5 you would write 5 in these cells. So basically, when you've done this and when you've gone through all of the steps in the template, and you filled in each of the tables, you filled in also the method that you've selected for calculating the annual catch estimates, you're done with them. You've got the template, and the only thing you have to do is to submit it to us, and we can review it together and validate it before you leave from TDW.